Title: They lost passion for the business. Have you ever started a business you were once obsessed with, but now can't even stand to think about? Have you ever stared at your laptop, dreading the work you once loved doing? What happens when the dream job becomes just a job? It's more common than people admit. From coaches to cake decorators, from digital marketers to delivery fleet managers, many lose the spark they once had for the business they built from scratch. This isn't a story about failure, it's a story about fatigue, about pressure, about people doing too much, too fast, and losing themselves in the process. This is the story of Jordan, an entrepreneur who was once fired up, building a successful business in Berlin. The kind of person who lit up a room when talking about work. But one day, something changed. They didn't want to talk about it anymore. They didn't even want to show up. And what happened next might just sound familiar, maybe a little too familiar. Because Jordan's story isn't just about business. It's about the battle to fall back in love with what you created. Stay with me. Meet Jordan, 34 years old, living in Berlin, smart, creative, driven. In 2020, while the world hit pause, Jordan hit play. They started a digital marketing agency from their tiny apartment. No funding, no team. Just one laptop, one brain, and a deep hunger to build something that mattered. Every day, they woke up with fire. Learning SEO, building websites, running ad campaigns. They worked 14-hour days, sometimes more. Coffee in hand, eyes on the prize. The dream? Freedom, flexibility, impact. Within 2 years, Jordan made it happen. The agency grew fast. A small team came on board, designers from Portugal, writers from the UK, and clients from all over the world: Canada, Nigeria, Singapore, South Africa. They had Zoom calls across time zones, steady income, even a few awards on the shelf. It was everything Jordan had hoped for. But then, something shifted. No burnout, no scandal, just silence. That loud, heavy silence that creeps in when your heart leaves the room. Jordan stopped showing up early, stopped celebrating wins, stopped caring about pitches, proposals, even payments. The work still got done, but it felt empty, robotic, like going through the motions. They wondered, what's wrong with me? The business was fine on paper, but inside, Jordan felt nothing. And that's where the real story begins. Every morning, Jordan's alarm felt like a warning siren, not a wake-up call. They'd stare at the screen, scrolling through emails with a sense of dread. Not because of the workload, but because none of it sparked joy anymore. That excitement from year one? Gone. Replaced by frustration, fatigue, and the subtle ache of burnout. Client meetings started feeling like punishment. Every Zoom call was a performance: smile, nod, deliver. Internally, Jordan was checked out. Their eyes were open, but their spirit had clocked out long ago. Thoughts started to creep in. Is this what I built all this for? I used to love this. What happened to me? The passion that once fueled late nights now barely powered them through lunch. Projects felt repetitive. Clients' requests, once welcome challenges, now felt like interruptions. They started missing deadlines. Not intentionally, just from pure disinterest. Then came the ripple effects. Clients noticed the change. Some quietly slipped away. Revenue dipped. Team morale followed. Designers began asking fewer questions. Writers delivered uninspired drafts. The team was mirroring the founder's energy, and it wasn't good. But the worst part? Jordan couldn't say a word. They were the boss, right? The leader. The one who's supposed to have it all together. How could they admit they were tired? That they didn't care anymore? That they were thinking about walking away from the very thing they built? So, they kept quiet. They showed up on camera with a smile and turned it off with a sigh. They laughed during meetings and cried after them. Burnout wasn't just stealing their productivity, it was stealing their identity. And still, they said nothing. Because when you're the one who started it all, you feel like you're not allowed to fall apart. But sometimes, falling apart is the first step to rebuilding something better. One evening, after yet another half-hearted team meeting, Jordan reached out to someone they hadn't spoken to in years, a mentor based in Singapore. The call was short but powerful. The mentor listened patiently, then asked just one thing: are you really tired of the business, or just tired of carrying it alone? That question hit Jordan like a wave. They sat back and thought about it. No vacation in over 2 years, no weekends off, no lunch breaks without Slack pings. Every department from marketing to sales to HR had somehow become Jordan's responsibility. Not because they didn't trust their team, but because they felt guilty delegating. It was their baby, after all. Their vision, but in trying to do everything, Jordan was now doing nothing well, especially not the part they loved: strategy, creativity, and connecting with people. They grabbed a notebook and scribbled 2 columns: what I love doing versus what I currently do. The contrast was brutal. Out of 10 daily tasks, only 2 brought joy. The rest? Stress, dread, or indifference. They had become the bottleneck of their own business. The same business that once felt like freedom now felt like a trap, and they were the warden. The mentor's words echoed again: "You're not tired of the business. You're tired of carrying it alone." For the first time in a long time, Jordan gave themselves permission to admit the truth. They didn't hate the business. They just hated how they'd been running it. This realization wasn't just comforting, it was energizing. Burnout wasn't a sign to quit. It was a sign to shift. It was time to rebuild the business around joy, not just responsibility. And that shift started with asking for help. Jordan finally hit pause. Not a resignation, not a meltdown. Just 1 week offline, unplugged, unbothered. At first, it felt weird. No emails, no deadlines, no dashboard notifications, just silence and space. But in that space, clarity came. Jordan realized the business didn't need a superhero, it needed a system. They returned with a new mantra: I don't have to do it all to love it again. The first change? Delegate 70% of operations. Tasks like invoicing, scheduling, and follow-ups, Jordan handed them over. It wasn't about letting go completely, it was about making space for what mattered most. Next, Jordan hired a junior manager. Someone hungry to grow, excited to take ownership. This freed Jordan from putting out daily fires and gave the team a new internal leader to lean on. But the real game changer? Jordan introduced a weekly creative session, no agenda, no KPIs. Just pure, playful brainstorming. Anyone from the team could bring an idea, a design, or even a wild campaign thought. It wasn't mandatory, it was magical. And slowly, joy came back. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in small things. Laughing on Zoom calls again, feeling excited before Monday, writing captions that sounded like them again, not just business speak. The spark returned not because Jordan forced it, but because they nurtured it. And the results? Clients noticed. The team grew tighter. Even revenue saw a gentle climb, not explosive, but steady, sustainable, human. Jordan's business didn't just survive the burnout, it evolved. From a grind to a groove. From solo hustle to shared momentum. From a burden to a business worth showing up for. And here's the truth. Sometimes the answer isn't to quit. It's to rest, reset, and redesign. One break, one decision, one shift at a time. That was Jordan's turning point. It could be yours too. Jordan's story isn't rare. It's happening everywhere in different industries, languages, and time zones. Burnout doesn't need a passport. It travels fast. In New York, a bakery owner named Tasha opened her shop with dreams of creating the city's best croissants. At first, she loved the smell of dough at 5 a.m., the loyal customers, the daily routine. But as the business grew, she stopped baking. Her time was consumed by permits, payroll, and plumbing issues. One day, she posted a note on the door, "Closed for good." It became a chore. Across the ocean in Nairobi, a fashion designer named Kendi turned a home sewing hobby into a full-fledged brand. Demand grew. She expanded, hired a team, opened a second location. But the pressure to keep up with trends, manage inventory, and deal with staff issues left her drained. She realized she hadn't touched her sketchbook in months, the thing that started it all. Meanwhile in Tokyo, Riku was a tech prodigy. He built a sleek mental wellness app during university. Investors were interested, downloads soared. But the constant grind of updates, user feedback, and investor meetings made him feel more like a machine than a creator. He sold the app not for profit, but for peace. 3 cities, 3 different people. Same story. They didn't fail, they lost the why behind the what. They forgot the spark that got them started. Passion was replaced by pressure. Creativity turned into crisis management. Joy became just another checkbox. And the most dangerous part? They suffered in silence. Because when you're successful, it's harder to admit you're struggling. Because when you're the boss, people expect you to have it all together. But burnout doesn't discriminate. Whether you're baking bread, sketching fabric, or writing code when the heart checks out, the business follows. The lesson here isn't that passion disappears forever. It's that when it fades, you have to pause and ask, why did I even start this? Not for the likes, not for the hustle, not even for the money, but for the feeling it gave you. The good news? That feeling isn't gone forever. You can get it back. But first, you have to recognize you're not alone. Losing passion is not a failure, it's a signal. It means pause, reflect, realign. Passion isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and needs care. Ask yourself, what did I love when I started? What am I doing now that drains me? What can I delegate or change? Your business doesn't need you to be a superhero, it needs you to be human. Sometimes, the cape is what's choking you. You don't have to always push harder. Sometimes, the real power is in pausing. Take a breath, step back, re-strategize. That's what Jordan did. They didn't sell the business, shut it down, or burn it all to the ground. They simply asked, what would make this fun again? And then followed that answer like a compass. Moral lesson: when you lose passion, don't assume it's the end. It might just be the beginning of a better way to do business. Burnout doesn't mean you're weak. It means something needs to change, not disappear. Passion isn't gone forever. It's usually just buried under burnout, boredom, or bad boundaries. Clear those away, and the spark comes back. And when it does, your business won't just grow, it'll glow. So to every entrepreneur, freelancer, and founder watching this, redesign your role, rediscover your why, reignite the fire. You don't need more hustle, you need more alignment. Follow for more real stories like Jordan's. Subscribe to stay business smart and burnout free, because business should feel like purpose, not punishment. And passion, real passion, always deserves a second chance.